Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I'm so pumped you're here today because we're going to break down this kind of fascinating illusion in the luxury automotive world. If you look at a Range Rover Sport and a Range Rover Evoque side by side, you see that iconic Land Rover badge, the stunning design, and the promise of advanced engineering. It's incredibly easy to assume that underneath the hood, they are practically the same machine, requiring the exact same type of care. But today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're going to reveal the reality of their distinctly different maintenance needs and why treating these two vehicles exactly the same can lead to some incredibly expensive headaches down the road. Okay, let's just dive right into it. Here's the roadmap we're taking today. Section 1 is two Rovers, two approaches. Section 2, servicing the Sport. Section 3, servicing the Evoque. Section 4, reading the dashboard. Section 5 covers the Texas heat factor. And finally, Section 6, diagnostics over guesswork. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, two Rovers, two approaches, the illusion versus the reality. So to really grasp how to maintain these vehicles, it helps to kind of think of them as two totally distinct personas. On one hand, you've got the Range Rover Sport, right? This is your heavyweight athlete. It's larger, it's significantly heavier, and it's built completely for performance. It's generating massive power. On the flip side, we have the Range Rover Evoque. Think of this one as your compact contender. It's urban-focused, using a turbocharged four-cylinder engine stuffed into a super tightly packed drivetrain. But, and this is a big but, the one thing they absolutely share is that both of these incredible machines will severely punish guesswork in the service bay. No doubt about it. And this right here brilliantly illustrates exactly how their repair priorities just drastically diverge. Take the engine, for example. The Sport needs high-output diagnostics, you're looking at advanced cooling issues and oil leaks, but the Evoque, that's all about keeping tabs on the turbo four-cylinder, hunting down intake leaks, and checking for ignition faults. It's a whole different ballgame. Suspension? The heavyweight Sport wears out its air suspension, control arms, and bushings, while the compact Evoque mostly deals with traditional struts and ride comfort stuff. Even the brakes are completely different. You've got massive component wear and rotor vibration on the heavy Sport versus just your standard daily driver wear on the Evoque. Moving right along to Section 2, servicing the Sport, maintaining the heavyweight athlete. Because the Sport is built as this luxury performance SUV, its vulnerabilities are totally dictated by its massive engine output and that heavy build we talked about. You've really got to keep an eagle eye on the air suspension and ride height, plus the brakes, control arms, and bushings. And you literally cannot ignore the cooling systems. They are under immense strain from that high-output engine. You also need to watch out for restricted performance faults. Basically, the sheer weight and power of this thing place a massive demand on these exact parts, which directly impacts how the SUV handles, accelerates, and, well, stops. Now here's a classic detective moment for any Sport owner. Picture this. You walk out to your driveway in the morning and you're thinking, wait, why does my Range Rover sit so low overnight? Or maybe it's just dropping on one specific corner. Well, the answer lies in the incredible complexity of that air suspension system. You absolutely cannot, really you can't, just start chasing symptoms and blindly swapping out parts. A proper diagnosis means you have to actively test for leaking air springs, check the output of the compressor, or hunt for a faulty valve block. You see, when one part of this system fails, the other parts are usually incredibly stressed out just trying to compensate. It's like a domino effect. You have to find that root leak first. All right, Section 3, servicing the Evoque, maintaining the compact contender. So when we talk about the Evoque, let me tell you, smaller definitely does not mean simpler. A compact, tightly packed engine bay can actually make some repairs way more labor-intensive. The real watch areas here are the turbocharged engine's health, extreme battery and voltage stability, transmission and all-wheel drive behavior, and, of course, the infotainment and camera systems. This car leans heavily, and I mean heavily, on perfectly clean oil, flawlessly sealed plumbing, and absolutely stable voltage to function, especially if you're stuck in stop-and-go city traffic. Which naturally leads us to another fantastic question you might be asking yourself if you drive an Evoque. Why in the world do my driver assistance cameras keep failing? Or why is my infotainment system glitching out on me? Okay, so the crucial point here is just how interconnected modern luxury electronics really are. Get this, the actual root cause of your camera failure might not even be the camera at all. It might literally just be a weak battery. In the Evoque, low voltage cascades into these seemingly totally unrelated electronic glitches across the whole vehicle. If the voltage isn't stable, the cameras, the key recognition, the start-stop systems, they simply can't communicate with each other properly. Which brings us to Section 4, reading the dashboard, warning lights in context. You have to remember, a warning light is just a starting point for an investigation. It is not a literal shopping list for parts. Take the restricted performance warning, for example. The exact same message pops up on your dash, but guess what? It means two completely different things depending on what you're driving. In the heavyweight Sport, it's probably related to boost, cooling issues, or emissions from all that output. But in the compact Evoque, it's typically pointing right at turbocharger performance issues or an intake leak. It is the exact same light, but a completely different diagnostic path. And what about the low coolant light? If you see this, whatever you do, please do not just top off the fluid and drive away. The source material strictly warns us that just topping it off totally ignores the root cause. If you're getting repeated warnings, you've got an underlying leak somewhere. It could be a hose, the expansion tank, the water pump, the radiator, you name it. If you ignore it, you are basically allowing a minor little leak to rapidly snowball into a catastrophic overheating disaster. Then there is this suspension fault, super common on sport models with air suspension. Look, a cheap, basic code scanner from the auto parts store is completely useless here. Why? Because a real inspection has to cover the mechanical parts, the ride height sensors, the wiring, and how the modules are actually talking to one another, all at the exact same time. It's a full system evaluation, not a quick scan. Section 5. The Texas Heat Factor. Driving in Dallas and Plano. We actually call this the Dallas effect. Believe it or not, your environment actively dictates your vehicle's maintenance needs. For the Sport, that intense, unrelenting Texas heat just exacerbates the strain on the cooling system. Like we said earlier, it turns those minor coolant leaks into major overheating events so fast. For the Evoque, that extreme heat, when you combine it with stop-and-go traffic, drastically shortens the battery life. And, as we just learned, that cascades into a nightmare of electronic faults. Plus, it essentially bakes that tightly packed engine bay. Now, if you're in the market for a pre-owned model, you really need a specific checklist to protect yourself. For a used Sport, you have got to check the air suspension compressor and listen closely for any timing-related engine noises. For a used Evoque, check out that turbocharger performance and look for signs of city driving battery strain. And for both of them, you absolutely must scan the full module history and hunt for hidden coolant leaks. I mean it, a car sitting perfectly level with zero active warning lights on the dash can still be hiding some incredibly expensive impending repairs. Finally, Section 6, Diagnostics over Guesswork, the Autoscope method. When you actually take a European luxury vehicle to a true specialist, they use a meticulous methodology. The proper diagnostic process doesn't just stop at reading a code. First, it starts with a full system module scan across the entire vehicle. Then it moves to active testing, things like cooling system pressure tests and smoke testing for boost leaks. Next, they do a road test that is specifically designed to replicate the exact conditions you were experiencing. And finally, a post-repair scan just to verify it was a success. This right here is exactly why a basic code reader just doesn't cut it for these vehicles. Now, what's really cool here is this number, 40. This represents the over 40 years of experience that Autoscope brings to European car repair. They employ factory-trained technicians who use the exact same Land Rover diagnostic equipment that the big dealerships use, but they do it without all the dealership games. They intimately understand how all these advanced systems are interconnected. And all that expertise is backed by the number 3. Autoscope provides a rock-solid 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on all their labor. Honestly, that's the kind of concrete reassurance you get when a shop actually takes the time to diagnose the root cause instead of just throwing random parts at a warning light. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important question to ponder today. Knowing how deeply interconnected the electronics are, and knowing how specific the cooling and suspension needs are between the Sport and the Evoque, are you actually maintaining your Range Rover, or are you just guessing? Because as we've seen today, guesswork is by far the most expensive maintenance strategy of all. Seek out the real diagnostic experts, protect your investment, and just enjoy the ride. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.